Barter by Sara Teasdale. Life has loveliness to sell, all beautiful and splendid things. Blue waves whitened on a cliff, soaring fire that sways and sings, and children's faces looking up, holding wonder like a cup.
Life has loveliness to sell, music like a curve of gold, scents of pine trees in the rain, eyes that love you, arms that hold. And for the spirit still delight, holy thoughts that start the night.
Spend all you have for loveliness.
Buy it and never count the cost.
For one white singing hour of peace.
Count many a year of strife well lost.
And for a breath of ecstasy.
Give all you've been or could be. Barter is classified as a Carpe Diem poem that specifically focuses on the value of life. The poem is 18 lines and follows the rhymed iambic tetrameter scheme AB, CB, DD, leaving the last two lines of each stanza a couplet. This couplet Teasdale uses to cleverly get her message across in the most convenient way.
The speaker is a troubled, desperate individual who perhaps is not trying to sell the reader, but rather herself that what she is saying is in fact true. The speaker has endured many hardships and in result is trying to make up for the lost time in his or her life. The speaker clearly struggles with the pursuit of happiness, which is demonstrated by her desperate words such as spend all and never count the cost. This poem addresses everyone, specifically those who do not take chances or appreciate life, posing them as a form of advice to all of those willing to listen. The first line of the poem introduces the extended metaphor that will be carried throughout the duration of the poem. With life having loveliness to sell, Teasdale uses this personified approach as if portraying a salesperson who is attempting to sell someone something. The repetition of the two W words, being waves whitened, mirrors the movement of the waves, transitioning from being peaceful to a more harsh state, hence the white caps on the waves. More alliteration comes into play in line 4 with describing the soaring fire that sways and sings, which gives the line a rhythmical feel of dance, which sets the mood as being happy and joyful. This line also uses personification, as we all know that fire cannot truly sing and sway. Teasdale uses a simile in the last two lines of the stanza when describing children's faces looking up, holding wonder like a cup. This simile reflects back to the original extended metaphor about selling loveliness. A child's innocence and inexperience leaves an entire future ahead of them, and they have yet to see what it has to offer.
The repetition of the first line in the second stanza creates a feeling of a sales pitch, in this case, life selling loveliness. This repetition acts to reiterate and remind the reader of the message of the poem. Using a simile, Teasdale compares music to a curve of gold, meaning a value and a great part of what makes life worth living. Detailing music curving creates a visual and tactical description of how music actually feels, the smooth texture, and the ease it creates. One often associates music with listening, but this line touches on how music actually makes the reader feel. Line 9 creates imagery for the reader, describing elements of nature that are worth appreciating and offer both psychological and philosophical beauty. In addition, rain represents water and cleansing, a new start, which is what the poem is motivating the readers to do. Personification is used when the line describes eyes as having the ability to love, with references to you as if the speaker is addressing the reader themselves, which pulls them more personally into the poem. The reference to its spirit relates to one's soul and elements you cannot see or feel, while the word holy brings around religious aspects of life, both highlighting the spiritual and internal wellness life brings. Finally, the use of a metaphor of stars in the night reflects the ideas and thoughts now emerging from this newfound view on life the poem arouses.
The tone has completely changed from the last two stanzas. Where the last two stanzas began with, life has the loveliness to sell, this stanza begins with, spend all you have for loveliness. This dramatic transition shows some desperation in the speaker has when attempting to get their message across. Alliteration is used when it is stated to never count the cost. Teasdale cleverly uses this as a way to effectively get her message across to the reader, while they will have a sudden realization about how life is too short to waste any time and to do whatever it takes, even if it, quote, breaks the bank. Imagery is used with one white singing hour of peace, which is used in an optimistic framework to suggest that it is never too late to make up for past hardships.
The last 4 lines reveals what the speaker believes life is demanding in exchange for all that loveliness, therefore linking back to the title Barter. The speaker argues that an hour of peace is well worth the years of hardship and strife just for a breath of the drug-like feeling loveliness provides. The last line addresses the appreciation both the reader and listener should now have for the simple, lovely things life provides, both in their past and their future. There is a sense of impermanence in the poem Barter. Many of the images that Teasdale uses as examples of life's loveliness are fleeting things, here 1 minute and gone the next. The reader gets the feeling that the loveliness for sale is a limited time offer. Teasdale uses lines such as blue waves whiten on a cliff to show how life frequently throws curveballs and can dramatically change from good to bad in a matter of time. Throughout the 2 stanzas, Teasdale emphasizes the beauties and wonders of life by incorporating children, pine trees, music, singing fires, and as well as loving arms. The tone changes in the 3rd stanza to being assertive and persuasive as she tells the reader to spend all we have for loveliness and to never count the cost. In other words, don't wait for life to happen, make it happen yourself. An appreciation of the simple, lovely things in life is more important than the past or the future, as expressed in the line, all you have been or could be. In line 17, the end of the poem states, and for a breath of ecstasy, the speaker is implying that the life should be lived with increased energy and without any sense of time perception and no regrets, similar to the effects of the drug ecstasy.
Throughout the duration of the poem, the reader is presented with several choices. The speaker wants us to buy what life is selling. She offers examples of loveliness to try and influence the reader's decision. She states these choices through a sales pitch tactic, but ultimately, it is up to each of us whether or not to choose loveliness. Teasdale barters with the reader by suggesting that one must accept life's terms, meaning that we will get to experience the loveliness life has to offer if we also accept all of life's hardship and strife. Life is a barter for something besides cash. Suggested that if one wants to have a happy, successful life, they must be willing to give up something in the process, which is reflecting the true meaning of barter, to exchange. Since the title is even called Barter, the reader is clearly informed about the importance of sacrifice, and they have to consider if the reward that comes from it is truly worth the hardships and sacrifice.
Barter was written by Sara Teasdale, a woman who grew up in a sheltered life, spoiled and waited on like a princess. Because she was always very frail and caught diseases easily, she was homeschooled until she was 9 and had a nurse companion that took care of her. Since she never communicated with her peers, she was forced to amuse herself with stories and things that she made up in her own lonesome world. Teasdale married Ernest Filsinger in 1914, but divorced in 1929, and she lived the rest of her life only for her poetry. In 1933, Teasdale caught chronic pneumonia, weakening not only her body, but her mind and spirit. No longer able to see the beauty in simple things, a direct reflection of the poem as she emphasizes the beauty of small things to which she was not capable of doing towards the final stretch of her life. There is a strong contrast to what she is suggesting to the reader and how she in fact reacts to the events within her own life, and how she wasn't appreciating the simple gifts she was given.
In 1933, Teasdale committed suicide at age 48 in New York, thus giving poems such as Barter a darker subtext. On the surface, Teasdale underlines the beauty of life and the importance of seizing the moment. However, Teasdale's suicide suggests her own true connection and desperation with the message behind the poem, almost trying to persuade her own mind regarding the loveliness of life that she was unable to both appreciate and experience.
The first form of Marxism that appears as a theme in the poem is material dialect. We live in a society that is so obsessed with spending all our money on materialistic things rather than real-life experiences. Humans exploit our resources to further our consumption, taking advantage of all the beauty we have around us for temporary happiness. Teasdale herself was a part of the upper class and therefore did not have to endure a lot of life's hardships and experiences. In addition, she married someone that provided her financial security, not for love. Therefore, this poem is a direct reflection of her inner regret and loss of true life because of her decisions and the bubble that her social position trapped her in.
By Teasdale expressing the line, "Buy anything and never count the cost," she is furthering the conflict between the classes and establishing the clear form of oppression. Teasdale uses this line to reflect that in our lives, we must live life to the fullest or we are basically wasting time. So when she states that unless a person spends money without hesitations, their life is not meaningful, bringing out the whole sense of oppression. The title itself is Barter, so the references to money overall captures the theme of trading experiences for better ones. The line, "Life has loveliness to sell," begins each stanza, which is important in representing how in life, someone may be given many opportunities. However, it is how someone responds to these opportunities that determines the success in their life.
To conclude, Teasdale's poem, Barter, stresses the value of life and living each day to the fullest.